Admiral Davis watched the stars through the viewport of Earth's first interstellar diplomatic vessel. After decades of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, the aliens had found humanity instead. 10 minutes to docking, Admiral, Lieutenant Reeve announced from the navigation console. Davis nodded, straightening his uniform. Humanity's first impression would matter. The message that arrived 3 months ago had been friendly enough, but contained little actual information about the species that called themselves the Galactic Union. The ship shuddered slightly as it connected with the massive station orbiting Jupiter. The Union had built it in just 2 weeks, a feat that would have taken Earth decades. Remember, Davis told his team of 5 diplomats and scientists, "We represent all of humanity now." The airlock cycled open. Davis had prepared himself for anything, but the sight still took his breath away. 3 different alien species stood in the reception area. One had blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Another looked almost plant-like with bark-textured skin. The third floated above the ground, its body translucent and shifting. "Welcome, humans," said the 4-armed alien in perfect English. "I am Representative Krell of the Union Council. We are pleased to make your acquaintance." Davis stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for this historic meeting." The aliens led them through corridors filled with technology beyond human understanding. Davis noticed how Union personnel kept their distance, watching the humans with what seemed like caution. During the diplomatic dinner, Davis observed more odd behavior. The aliens served humans different food than they ate themselves. When Davis asked questions about Union weapons technology, the room grew noticeably quieter. "You must understand," Krell explained later as he showed Davis the station's observation deck. "Your species is quite unique in our experience." "How so?" Davis asked. Krell hesitated. "Your adaptability is remarkable. Most species evolve for specific environments." On the 3rd day, the Union representatives presented a membership offer. Earth would receive access to advanced technology, interstellar travel capabilities, and protection under Union law. In exchange, Earth would follow Union regulations and contribute resources. Davis and his team reviewed the terms carefully. Something felt off, but the benefits were too great to refuse. Earth needed these technologies, especially with its growing environmental crisis. The signing ceremony was broadcast to Earth. Billions watched as Davis signed the document that officially made Earth the newest member of the Galactic Union. Later that night, Davis couldn't sleep. He walked the station's quiet corridors and overheard 2 aliens speaking in what they thought was privacy. "Dangerous to bring them in so quickly," one was saying. "The Council believes observation is safer than ignorance," replied the other. "Their planet is nearly self-destructing anyway. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late." Davis froze, pressing against the wall. "And if they prove as dangerous as the predictions suggest, then the Watchers will handle it, as they always do with potential threats." The conversation chilled Davis to the bone. He returned to his quarters and sent a coded message to Earth. "Proceed with caution. We are being watched." The next morning, Krell approached Davis privately during the tour of the Union technology demonstration. "Your species puzzles many in the Union," Krell said quietly. "You evolved on a death world, by our standards. Constant disasters, extreme weather, dangerous predators, yet you thrived." "We call it home," Davis replied simply. Krell leaned closer. "Some find that terrifying." "Be careful, Admiral Davis. Not everyone celebrates your arrival." As the Earth delegation prepared to return home with the first shipment of Union technology, Davis watched the aliens more carefully. He noticed how they flinched when humans moved too quickly, how they studied human reactions like scientists observing dangerous specimens. Earth had joined the galactic community, but Davis couldn't shake the feeling that they had just placed themselves under a microscope with unknown consequences. 6 months after Earth joined the Galactic Union, Admiral Davis found himself back on the Jupiter station. The integration of alien technology on Earth had begun, but progress was slower than expected. The Union representatives always had reasons for delays in sharing the most important advances. Davis entered the garden area where he had arranged to meet Krell. The alien diplomat had become something like a friend. If friendship could exist when you suspected the other party was hiding something important. "You seem troubled, Admiral," Krell said, his forearms moving in the graceful pattern that Davis had learned indicated concern. "The medical technology you promised still hasn't arrived," Davis replied. "People are dying on Earth who could be saved." Krell's skin shifted to a darker blue, a sign of discomfort Davis had noticed before. "There are protocols. Some technology requires careful implementation." Davis leaned forward. "I'm tired of half-truths, Krell. What aren't you telling me?" The alien looked around the garden, then touched a small device on his wrist. "I have activated a privacy field. We can speak freely for 2 minutes." "The Union is afraid of you," Krell said bluntly. "Of all humans." "Afraid? Why? We've followed every regulation. It's not what you do. It's what you are." Krell's voice dropped lower. "Most species in the Union evolved on stable worlds with few predators and consistent environments. Adaptability was unnecessary. But humans, you evolved to survive almost anything. That makes us dangerous. Extremely. You heal from injuries that would kill others. You survive in temperatures that would kill most species. Your psychological resilience is unprecedented. You experience tragedy and somehow find hope." Davis felt a chill despite the warm garden air. "Are we being set up? The Watchers, our oldest security council, are debating your species' fate even now. Some argue for containment, others for control through limited technology sharing." Krell hesitated. "Some advocate for more permanent solutions." The privacy field flickered, indicating their time was ending. "Why tell me this?" Davis asked quickly. "Because I believe fear is driving poor decisions. And because—" Krell stopped as the field disappeared. 2 Union security officers entered the garden. "Representative Krell, the council requests your presence." Krell nodded, then turned to Davis. "Admiral, I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay. Perhaps you would find tomorrow's demonstration of survival protocols enlightening." The emphasis on those words wasn't subtle. Davis watched Krell leave, understanding the warning. That night, Davis used his security clearance to access the station's database. The survival protocols demonstration was scheduled for a specialized testing chamber. He found no details about what it would involve. The next day, Davis arrived early and found a hidden observation position. What he witnessed turned his blood cold. The Union was putting humans through tests without their knowledge. Davis watched as a researcher named Miller was led into a chamber supposedly for standard medical evaluation. The air pressure was gradually decreased while the temperature dropped. The alien scientists watched with clinical interest as Miller showed discomfort but continued functioning far past the point they had expected. In another chamber, a human diplomat was exposed to radiation levels that the aliens clearly considered lethal. The woman showed no immediate effects, to the visible shock of the observers. Davis slipped away before being discovered. That evening, he sent another coded message to Earth. "We are being studied. All human representatives potentially under observation." 3 days later, Davis was summoned to an unexpected meeting with the High Council. There, he found representatives from 7 species he had never seen before. "Admiral Davis," announced the eldest member, a being with crystalline features, "we are the Watchers. We have reached a decision regarding humanity." Davis stood tall, keenly aware that Earth's future might depend on his next words. "Humanity has been classified as a potential threat to galactic stability," the crystalline being continued. "However, we wish to better understand your capabilities before determining appropriate measures." Translation: they hadn't decided whether to help humanity or eliminate it. Davis smiled diplomatically. "We look forward to proving ourselves valuable members of the Union." But in his mind, he was already planning how to warn Earth that they were being judged by a galaxy that feared them. A cultural exchange program, The Union representative explained to the assembled humans, to foster better understanding between our peoples. Admiral Davis watched skeptically as 30 human representatives prepared to board separate Union vessels for what was described as a series of diplomatic exercises throughout Union space. Davis himself would be joining the flagship of the Watchers. This isn't an exchange if only humans are traveling, Davis pointed out. Where are the Union representatives coming to Earth? The crystalline watcher named Elder Vex made a sound like tinkling glass, their version of laughter. Your world is still adjusting to first contact. In time. 2 weeks into the journey, Davis realized the true nature of the cultural exchange. Each human had been separated and placed in different environments, some comfortable, others decidedly not. Davis was subjected to rapidly changing atmospheric conditions aboard the ship, always with the excuse of system calibrations. Captain Miller and his team had been assigned to a mining colony in a high-gravity system. During a routine communication, Miller mentioned casually, "The locals seem surprised we can work full shifts. Apparently, most species here need breathing assistance after 4 hours." Davis began collecting reports from all human participants. The pattern was unmistakable. Humans were being tested, pushed to their limits in environments that challenged other species. On the 23rd day, disaster struck. A Union transport ship carrying supplies to an outpost crashed on a desolate moon. Among the passengers were 3 humans from the exchange program. "Conditions on the surface are unsurvivable," Elder Vex stated as the Watchers monitored the situation. Temperatures dropped to -120 degrees at night, with toxic atmospheric components. Rescue teams will deploy once the storm system passes in approximately 5 days. 5 days. Davis stared at the readouts. There are survivors down there. None can survive those conditions for 5 days, another watcher replied dismissively. Davis studied the sensor data. Captain Miller's ship is nearby. They could reach the crash site in hours. And also perish, Vex said simply. "We will not sacrifice more lives needlessly." Davis sent an encrypted message to Miller anyway. 12 hours later, Miller's response came through. "Rescue mission underway. Unofficial. Don't wait up." The Watchers were furious when they detected Miller's ship entering the moon's atmosphere, but it was too late to stop them. Davis watched with the aliens as Miller's team landed near the crash site. For 3 days, the Watchers monitored in disbelief as the humans not only survived but established a base camp around the crash site. They recovered 6 Union survivors who would have died waiting for the official rescue. When Miller's team finally returned to their ship, Elder Vex turned to Davis. "Your people survived temperatures that freeze most species solid. They breathed toxic air using only basic filtration. They went without sleep for 72 hours during a rescue operation." Davis shrugged. "We help those in need. It's what humans do." "No," Vex corrected, crystal facets gleaming under the ship's lights. "What you did defies biological possibility by Union standards. This is why you are being tested." Later that cycle, Davis overheard 2 Watchers discussing the situation. "The psychological evaluation is most concerning," one said. "Humans possess a drive we cannot quantify. They call it hope, continuing effort despite statistical impossibility of success. And the darker element," added the other. "Spite, continuing not just despite odds but because of them. To prove others wrong. The Council must be informed. These traits combined with their physical adaptability makes them the most dangerous species we've encountered." Davis returned to his quarters and sent an emergency message to Earth. "Our unique traits are being classified as threats. Prepare contingencies." The next morning, Davis was summoned by Elder Vex. "Admiral Davis, the Council has reached a consensus. The human delegation is invited to Central World for a special summit regarding Earth's full integration into the Union." Davis smiled and accepted, while his stomach knotted with dread. He recognized a trap when he saw one. Whatever the Union was planning, Davis knew humanity's survival might depend on what happened next. Central World gleamed like a jewel in space, its surface covered with sprawling cities and artificial landscapes. As the diplomatic vessel carrying Earth's leadership approached, Admiral Davis stood rigidly at the viewport. Something felt wrong. "Beautiful, isn't it?" President Chen appeared beside him. As Earth's highest-ranking official, she had insisted on attending personally, despite Davis's concerns. "Hard to believe they built all this in less than 1,000 years." "That's what worries me," Davis replied quietly. "What happened to whoever was here before them?" The welcome ceremony was grand, with representatives from over 50 species in attendance. Krell found Davis during the reception, pulling him aside with all 4 arms gesturing nervously. "I shouldn't be speaking to you," Krell whispered. "But you must know, only half the council voted for integration. The others voted for containment." "Containment? What does that mean?" "It means..." Krell suddenly straightened as a watcher approached. "Admiral, I must attend to other guests." He hurried away. That night, Davis couldn't sleep. He accessed the ship's computer and searched for unusual fleet movements. What he found confirmed his fears. Union military vessels were gathering near Earth's solar system. Davis woke President Chen immediately. "It's a trap. They've invited our leadership here while they position forces around Earth." "That's a serious accusation," Chen said, but her expression showed she believed him. "We need to leave. Now." The Earth delegation attempted to return to their ship, only to find Union guards blocking the way. "For security purposes, all delegates must remain in the diplomatic quarter until the summit concludes," their escort explained. Davis knew they had minutes, perhaps hours, before they were formally detained. He gathered his most trusted team members, Lieutenant Reed, Commander Wilson, and Dr. Barnes. "We need to warn Earth, and we need a ship," Davis explained. "Wilson, create a distraction. Reed, find us transportation. Barnes, secure communications." Wilson triggered the environmental systems to register a toxic leak, causing evacuation alarms throughout the diplomatic quarter. In the chaos, Reed located a small Union courier vessel with minimal security. "I can fly it," Reed said confidently, "but the navigation system is in their language." "Download whatever you can," Davis ordered. "We'll figure it out later." As guards rushed toward the false environmental emergency, Davis's team slipped aboard the courier ship. Reed bypassed the security protocols using techniques she'd learned from watching Union pilots. "Hold on," she warned as the ship lurched away from the docking bay. Union security vessels immediately gave chase. 3 larger ships moved to block their escape vector. "They're going to trap us," Wilson said. "No, they're going to try," Davis replied. "Reed, head straight for them." "Sir, they think humans are irrational and dangerous. Let's show them they're right." Reed accelerated directly toward the blockade. As Davis predicted, the Union ships scattered rather than risk collision. The courier ship shot through the gap and jumped to faster-than-light travel before they could regroup. "We have 6 hours before we reach communication range with Earth," Barnes reported. "But I'm detecting multiple Union fleets converging on our solar system." "They're going to quarantine Earth," Davis said grimly. "Isolate the dangerous species before we can spread." 3 days later, their stolen ship limped into Earth orbit, having sustained damage evading Union patrols. They found Earth already under blockade, a ring of Union warships preventing any vessels from leaving the system. In an emergency meeting with Earth's remaining military command, Davis presented everything he'd learned. "They fear us," he explained to the grim-faced generals and admirals. "Our biology, our psychology, everything about humans terrifies them. They've classified us as a galactic threat. So what do we do against an enemy with superior technology and numbers?" asked General Ford. Davis looked around the room at the determined faces of Earth's defenders. "We do what humans have always done when backed into a corner. We adapt, we fight, and we show them exactly why they were right to be afraid." Outside the window, the first Union scout ships began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere. The blockade was complete, and Earth stood alone against a galaxy that had decided humanity was too dangerous to exist freely. Earth's cities darkened as power was redirected to defense systems. The Union blockade tightened, cutting off all interplanetary travel and communications. In underground bunkers across the planet, humanity prepared for war. Commander Wilson stood before a wall of screens in the hastily established Resistance headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains. Images showed Union ships deploying into Earth's atmosphere. "They're not bombarding us," Wilson observed. "They want Earth intact." "Of course they do," Admiral Davis replied. "To them, we're a scientific curiosity, a dangerous specimen to be studied and controlled." The first wave of Union forces established bases in remote areas, avoiding major population centers. Their technology was centuries beyond Earth's, but they seemed reluctant to engage directly. "They underestimate us," Wilson said after the third week of occupation. "They're setting up containment perimeters, not invasion forces. They think we'll just accept their presence." Wilson's team had been analyzing captured Union technology. Against all expectations, human engineers had managed to reverse engineer several key components, particularly their communication systems. "It's not that we're smarter," Dr. Barnes explained as she demonstrated a modified Union scanner, now working under human control. "It's that we're approaching their tech from angles they never considered. They build technology in predictable, standardized ways. We look for workarounds." The first real victory came when Wilson's team hijacked a Union patrol ship. Using the captured vessel, they raided a Union supply depot and escaped with weapons and technology that advanced Earth's resistance efforts by months. "The Union commanders are furious," Davis said, listening to intercepted communications. "They can't understand how we adapted their security measures so quickly." As months passed, the pattern repeated. Union forces would deploy new containment technology. Human resistance would find unexpected weaknesses and exploit them. Union commanders grew increasingly frustrated by humanity's refusal to follow predictable patterns. Wilson led a daring mission into a primary Union base, extracting not just technology but data. What they discovered changed everything. "We're not alone in resisting," Wilson reported, displaying the stolen files. "There are other species the Union has subjugated, smaller, less advanced civilizations kept as clients rather than full members." Davis studied the reports. "Can we contact them?" "Already working on it," Wilson replied with a grim smile. "Our captured communications array can reach 3 systems where these species live." The Union responded to rising human resistance with increasingly harsh measures. They began bombing empty cities as warnings. They released biological agents designed to make crops fail. But for each attack, humanity adapted. Underground farming operations expanded. Guerrilla tactics evolved. And most importantly, humans began reaching out to other oppressed species throughout Union territory. 6 months into the occupation, Wilson's team made their boldest move yet. Using a hodgepodge of Union technology combined with human ingenuity, they launched a small ship through the blockade. Its mission, to contact potential allies directly. The Union's response was swift and brutal. They destroyed 3 major cities, killing millions. "This is my fault," Davis said, watching the destruction from their command center. Wilson shook her head. "No, this is why we fight. They think this will break us, but they don't understand humans at all." The tragedy united Earth as nothing before. Former enemy nations pooled resources and knowledge. The resistance swelled with volunteers. More surprising was the response from space. 3 Union ships suddenly broke formation and landed near resistance bases, not to attack but to defect. The ships carried members of one of the smaller Union species, squat, 4-eyed beings who called themselves the Null. "We monitored your transmissions," their leader told Davis. "Your resistance inspired us. For centuries, the Union has kept us as second-class citizens, using fear to control us. They're doing the same to you, but you fight back." Davis looked at the alien delegation, then at Wilson and her team of fighters. "The Union thinks humanity's adaptability makes us dangerous," Davis said. "They're right, but not in the way they feared. We don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to help others survive too." The Null commander extended a three-fingered hand. "Teach us." The Null weren't the only ones watching humanity's resistance with interest. As word spread through hidden channels across Union space, representatives from other subjugated species began to make contact. Each arrival brought new allies, new technologies, and new hope. Admiral Davis stood in the command center, now expanded to accommodate the diverse physiology of their alien allies. Maps showed pockets of resistance flaring up across Union territory. "The Watchers never expected this," Krell said, having defected to Earth 3 weeks earlier. His blue skin had dulled from stress, but his eyes shone with purpose. "They fear humans would destabilize the galaxy. They never imagined you would unite the oppressed." Wilson entered, followed by representatives from 6 different species. "The Union is mobilizing their main fleet. They're taking this seriously now." "Good," Davis replied. "That means we're winning." The alliance that formed around humanity was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Each species brought unique perspectives and abilities. The Null, experts in stealth technology. The plant-like Phora, masters of biological systems. The crystalline Lith, with their understanding of energy weapons. But it was humanity that provided the crucial element: innovation. Humans taught their allies to think differently, to adapt. "You combine technologies that were never meant to work together," observed a Phora scientist, watching humans modify Union weapons. "You ignore established limitations." "Limitations are just suggestions," Wilson replied with a shrug. As the alliance grew stronger, they'd moved from defense to offense. Small strikes at first, supply depots, communication relays. Then larger targets, military installations, shipyards. The Union responded with increasing force, but each time, the alliance adapted faster than they could counter. The tide began to turn when Davis implemented what he called the chaos strategy, never attacking the same way twice, never establishing patterns the Union could predict. "They expect order," Davis explained to the War Council. "Their entire society is built on predictability. We need to be the opposite." The strategy worked. Union commanders couldn't anticipate where the alliance would strike next or how. Resource ships disappeared. Key officials defected. Union technology was turned against them. But the Watchers weren't defeated easily. They unleashed their elite forces, genetically engineered soldiers, and automated war machines. The casualties mounted on both sides. During a devastating battle in Earth's orbit, Wilson's ship was destroyed. They found her escape pod 3 days later. Wilson barely alive, but clutching data drives containing the locations of the Watchers' primary command centers. "This is it," Davis told the Alliance leaders as Wilson recovered in the medical bay. "With this information, we can strike at the heart of their leadership." Planning the final assault took weeks. The Alliance gathered every ship, every weapon, every fighter they could muster. This would be all or nothing. The night before the operation, Davis visited each group of alien allies. What he saw moved him deeply. Species that had never worked together before were now fighting side by side, united by a common cause. A young Null commander approached Davis. "My ancestors taught us to fear the Union for 1,000 years. How did humans resist them from the first day?" Davis considered the question. "It's not that we're fearless. We feel fear just like anyone. But humans learned long ago that some things are worth being afraid for, rather than just being afraid of." The next morning, as Alliance ships prepared to jump to the Watchers' hidden base, Krell found Davis on the bridge of the flagship. "The Union always believed humanity's nature made you dangerous," Krell said. "Your adaptability, your persistence, your willingness to challenge authority, these were seen as threats to galactic order." "And now?" Davis asked. Krell's 4 hands made a gesture of profound respect. Now we understand these traits are exactly what the galaxy needed. The Union maintains stability through control and fear. Humanity offers something better, progress through cooperation and courage. Davis looked at the view screen showing hundreds of Alliance ships, crewed by beings from dozens of worlds, all united because humans had shown them how to resist. Let's hope the Watchers learn that lesson today, Davis said as he gave the order to begin the final battle. The Watchers' hidden command center hung in the darkness between stars, a massive structure built to be invisible to standard detection methods. But the Alliance had evolved beyond standard methods, just as humanity had taught them. Alliance ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, catching the Watchers' defense fleet completely off guard. The battle erupted instantly, energy weapons flashing against the void of space. Admiral Davis stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching tactical displays as the first wave engaged. Remember, our priority is to breach their central command. Everything else is secondary. The Watchers had anticipated an attack eventually, but not like this. Not with so many formerly subjugated species fighting alongside humans. Not with Union technology modified in ways they'd never imagined possible. They're adapting to our attack pattern, reported a Null tactical officer, shifting their defense grid. Then we shift too, Davis ordered. Implement Chaos Protocol Delta. The Alliance fleet immediately broke from their coordinated attack into seemingly random movements, a strategy no Union commander would ever employ. Ships darted in unpredictable patterns, striking from impossible angles. It was organized chaos, and the Watchers couldn't counter what they couldn't predict. A breach opened in the defensive line. Davis didn't hesitate. All strike teams, move in now. Wilson, recovered enough to insist on joining the mission, led the first boarding party onto the Watchers' command station. Her team, a mix of humans, Null and Fora fighters, cut through the station's outer hull and fought their way inward. The Union designed everything for efficiency, Wilson told her team as they navigated the twisting corridors, which means there's always a direct path to what matters most. They encountered heavy resistance but pushed forward relentlessly. Union soldiers were skilled but rigid in their tactics. Wilson's team was flexible, improvisational, human. On the flagship, Davis received Wilson's transmission. Central chamber breached. Watchers secured. Within hours, the fighting stopped. Davis boarded a shuttle to the command station, where Wilson awaited with the captured Watcher leadership. The main chamber was vast, dominated by a circular council table where the crystalline Elder Vex and 6 other Watchers sat under guard. "You've won nothing," Vex said as Davis entered. "The Union spans thousands of worlds. This insurrection will be crushed." Davis approached the table calmly. "That might have been true once. But look around you, Elder. Your own forces are abandoning the fight." The tactical displays showed Union ships standing down across the galaxy as news of the Watchers' capture spread. "For centuries, you've ruled through fear," Davis continued. "You classified humanity as dangerous because we represented something you couldn't control. The capacity to change, to question, to hope for something better. Unchecked change leads to chaos," Vex insisted. "The Union brings order." "No," Wilson interrupted, stepping forward. "The Union brings stagnation. You were so afraid of the unknown that you stopped growing." Davis activated the station's communication system, broadcasting to all Union worlds. "To all beings across the galaxy, the age of the Watchers is over. We don't come to destroy the Union, but to transform it. Every species deserves a voice. Every world deserves freedom." In the weeks that followed, the Alliance established a transitional council with representatives from all species, including former Union leadership. The process wasn't easy. Centuries of oppression couldn't be undone overnight, but the foundation was laid for something new. 1 month after the battle, Davis stood with Krell and Wilson on an observation deck, watching ships from across the galaxy arriving for the first true Galactic Congress. The Watchers were right about one thing, Davis reflected. Humans are dangerous, to tyrants, to systems built on fear, to anyone who values control over freedom. Krell's four arms made a gesture of amusement. The irony is perfect. They feared humanity would destroy galactic civilization. Instead, you saved it. Wilson smiled as a ship bearing Earth's flag docked alongside vessels from 100 worlds. They called us the galaxy's deadliest species. They never specified who we were deadly to. Davis nodded, watching the diverse beings disembarking together. Turns out our greatest weapon wasn't our adaptability or our resilience. It was our ability to show others they had those qualities too. The new galactic age had begun, not built on fear of the different, but on the strength found in diversity. And it had started because the most dangerous species in the galaxy had been given a warning that backfired spectacularly. Well done. Now the galaxy's deadliest species is coming for you.